Hi, I'm Lise Colucci, and I'm a life coach at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse in toxic relationships. Hello and welcome. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about how to stay safe. 10 ways to reduce your vulnerability to a narcissistic person or to a toxic person in your life. 10 ways to keep you safe that you can take control of, and you can begin to make changes if you need to, or at least look at, so that you yourself have the power to create a life that is free from toxic people as best you can. So, or if you have them in your life that you can't be free from them, ways to improve your own life so that they don't affect you quite so much. So let's get talking about that. Number one is know what it is that you want for your life. So if you know what it is, with the direction you want to take your life, what it is that you want for your life, like say you've been discarded and you're healing and you're trying to create a life for yourself, start to pay attention to what it is you want for your life, what it is that what are your hopes, your dreams, what do you want? And start creating that life by doing the things you want to do and making a life for yourself that is one that serves the benefit of what you want for your life. And as you do that, only allow people in who are positive and have an influence that is like positive and growth oriented toward that aim, where it's like a mutually beneficial type of friendship or relationship, so that you are helping each other to grow and live the lives that you want to live in a positive way. So in other words, keep the negative people out. Hello, Misty Dawn. Misty says, I'm working on that right now. Yeah, it's a process, right? It's not a quick thing. I mean, we're not talking about, okay, tomorrow I know what I want and tomorrow I can do it, right? This is knowing what you want and keeping your eye on the prize, so to speak, keeping your aim focused on positivity towards your own life and reevaluating and saying, okay, what is it that I want? Hello, Jacqueline. Okay, so another number two is self-esteem. Start to figure out where you need some work in that area and get busy. We all have varying levels and degrees of self-esteem, of course. But the thing is that a narcissist or a toxic person will prey upon anyone with low self-esteem. They will build you up in order to knock you back down lower than you were before you met them. So self-esteem is critical. You got to build yourself up, and only you. It's self-esteem. You are the one in charge of creating what you believe about yourself. Okay. You can get help, of course, and that's what we're here for. But hello, Belle of Emmer. She says, hi, Lise. Thanks for being here. I hope you're well. I am well. How are you? It's a lovely spring day on the Cape. How nice. It is here too. It's quite warm, actually. It's kind of nice. All right. So self-esteem, it's not something that you think, okay, I'm gonna have self-esteem. You just poof, you have it, right? You working on things like paying attention to the way you talk to yourself, paying attention to the beliefs you have about yourself. And if they're not ones that go back to number one, serving what you want for your life, if they're not beliefs that you have that will help you get where you want to be, then change them. Beliefs can be changed. Beliefs were put there, they were programmed into you, and they can be changed. It's not a simple process, of course. And, finding help. This is one thing that I will say, that all of this stuff that I'm talking about today is a place where coaching can really help, because it can help to have somebody basically cheering you on and helping you to discover what it is about yourself, ways to change your perspective, right? Ways to open up. Instead of seeing things in the little box that you see things in, ways to widen that perspective so that you can see things differently and then make the changes that you need to make. But doing it on your own, there's plenty of workbooks and books out there and questions to ask here if you don't know. So we'll go on from the self-esteem, but that's a really, really, really important one, is building up your self-esteem. A narcissist always preys on low self-esteem. They love it. That's like the prime target, is someone that doesn't have, they also like to try and break people who have high self-esteem, but really, if your self-esteem is low and it combines with a lot of these other things and many other things besides these 10, then it makes you completely vulnerable to somebody coming in and building you up so that then they can tear you down. In fact, you have to do it for yourself, even if you're around healthy people, right? So hello, Jonna and Erica. Hey, so another number 3, are you love addicted? I got to check that one. I'm going to just say briefly on this because that's a whole topic all in itself, right? Do you need to feel loved by someone else in order to feel your own worth? Do you need to, do you overlook things because you just want what they're giving you? And so it doesn't matter if they do X, Y, Z, as long as they give you attention. Is the attention what feeds you versus the communication and the connection with another person? You know, if you're with someone and you're so drawn to the energy of them giving you attention, there's a likelihood that, I mean, everybody likes attention. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to want some attention, but when that's the thing that drives the relationship, there's something in there that's out of balance. Okay, a healthy exchange between two people is the connection in the way the two people communicate and the give and take, right? So love addiction, I mean, that's a whole, like I said, a whole thing. Read up on it. And I mean, I may do a whole talk on love addiction because actually I probably will very soon, but that is a point. You mix love addiction and low self-esteem and you've got yourself a target for a narcissist. Okay. So pay attention to those things. Shastina says, if I had money, my self-esteem would flourish. Unfortunately, I'm too broke. You know, I feel the same way. I felt the same way. I understand that. It's not, they're separate. I'm here to tell you they are separate. Money helps. Okay, money helps. Sometimes the flip is true though, Shastina. If you have a higher self-esteem, you begin to find ways to earn the money. It's belief about yourself has nothing to do with the external world. Okay. It's hard to take the life's knocks that aren't your fault and not take it personally and have it not affect your self-esteem. It's really, really hard. Okay. So what I'm saying here isn't, do the easiest thing in the world. Just get some great self-esteem and you'll be fine. What I'm saying is that that's a place. These are just points of areas to look at for yourself because they are places you can start to build some control in your life. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect or that there might be things like money or circumstances that make it incredibly difficult. Pain, injury, physical health, things like that they feel like weights that you can't get out from under, but they really aren't what builds your self-esteem. There are people in the world who have all the money in the world and they have incredibly low self-esteem. So it really doesn't equate. It just feels like it. And the beliefs that we have of the things that are external that are holding us from our own self-worth, those are the lies we're telling ourselves that hold us there. And I don't know how to say that in a gentle way other than it really is true. I'm not saying it's going to be the perfect self-esteem when you come out from under it's all a process and it's layers. So I would urge you to let go of a belief that something else. I know. Okay. I'm going to stop you right here, Shastina, because I love what you said. I understand that, but try this instead. Just try it. I understand that. And so go ahead and, what you're saying is completely valid. I totally get it. I'm not trying to invalidate your experience at all. It's people who have had abuse, and especially if they're financially abused or if they have become physically ill or if they have, anything that's limiting in their life, it really does affect your self-esteem. It affects your self-worth. It affects everything. And that you can still continue to build better self-esteem. Is it going to be perfect? I don't know. It may not. But it can be better. It can be better without the external changing. Okay. I know it can because I've done it. And the external's not changed that much. Okay. Seriously. And so I believe it can. And what I'm seeing in your speech is limiting beliefs by the words you're using. So sometimes just changing the words, I know, but to I know, and totally valid, trying to put physically and mentally failing and trying. I'm tired. Okay, I understand that, but just changing it to I know that and seriously can it can keep creating more positivity. Yeah, just try it. It's not, I mean, it's silly in a way, and it may not work, but it works for a lot of people. So give it a shot. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit of this and come back to number 4. Boyfriends since I was 16. This is Belle of Amherst. Except for a self-imposed solitary life, almost a decade. Amazed that I still managed to attract 2 out of 3 narcs. I am seeing the red flags now. Thanks for this group. You're welcome. Misty says that money has also affected my self-esteem, but as I'm working on myself, I'm putting myself out there more and finding ways to make more money. Think outside the box. That's exactly it. And that the problem is if your self-esteem gets knocked down, it's really hard to think outside the box and think you can do it. You know what I mean? It's like it's hard to believe in yourself enough to put yourself at risk enough to go out there and try things that are different ways to make things work. It's a vicious loop, right? Jonna says, I have no money and lots of confidence. It's possible. It is. And it's when we equate one thing with another, we're limiting ourselves to that being true. Okay. And you can see in other people that it isn't true for them, even though then maybe there's wiggle room for a new truth. We just need a little wiggle room for a new truth to come in. Anyway, number 4, boundaries. We know this, right? We know that the narcissistic person will push boundaries no matter what. They always push boundaries. They push boundaries. They step on boundaries. They completely decimate boundaries. They push the line further and further back until you've lost your own moral compass half the time, and your own self-worth gets, thrown into the ground because you're not living the life you want to live or the life you believe you should live. So it's not only learning to set those boundaries, it's learning to hold and keep those boundaries as something that is so true to you that you won't let anyone cross it. And sometimes we get a little over the top and a little rigid and like boundary happy. That can happen. It's okay. But finding a balance of being able to push your limits, like in other words, if sometimes we have to push our boundaries a little, does that make sense, in order to grow? And other times we have to know, no, that's a hard line. So it's learning all about your boundaries, with all the different kinds of boundaries, and understanding how to work with them, so that it's not just, oh, I'm placing a boundary, let's see if this person crosses it. It's not foreign to you. It's totally part of how you operate. And it's not going to keep the narcs out, but it certainly won't let them, they'll get bored. If they don't know you very well, they'll move on to a new target, most likely, unless it's a challenge. It just depends on the type, but it's all these things put together, right? So what are we saying here? Belle of Amherst says, I agree with Shastina. I don't want more than I need, but I need enough to be able to leave a narc. I'm not saying that, just have self-esteem anyway. What I'm saying is it's possible to start building. These are the places you can make change in your life. What you can't change sometimes is the external. If you can start changing the internal, though, you start to view life differently, and different opportunities and different ways of solving problems come up. So I'm learning I'm worth earning, and it's not greedy. Yes. You see, as you learn the things that you need to change in yourself, then you're able to create a different life. And it can be really subtle. Yeah. Okay. Right. I know. I understand, Chestina. It's an extreme thing when the external things like money are so hard. Oh, bye, Misty. Have a good day. Let's see. So number 4, people pleasing. We got to stop the people pleasing, right? That's not being helpful and giving to other people is great. That's fine. But when it's people pleasing, what does that mean? What does that mean where it's different? To me, it means where it's unhealthy for a person to be a people pleaser is where we're trying to gain our self-worth through what we do for other people. Of course, doing things for other people makes us feel good. That's healthy and natural and normal. But it's when that's where we're going in order to gain any form of self-esteem and self-worth, what happens is everyone uses you. Even nice people use you. You will find your friends using you who are kind people, and they don't even mean it. It's just that we set ourselves up through all the pleasing to never take back, right? To never have things given back to us. So if we're people pleasing all the time and we're not asking for help and there's no reciprocation in your life, then something's out of balance. And that's where you can like look at it and say, okay, it's okay that I want to help and please people. I have to be very specific on who I help and who I'm trying to make life easier or whatever for. But I need to have something coming back in another direction from each person that I'm giving to. It has to be reciprocal, because when you're, it all affects your self-worth. Again, it's really important. Let's see here. I'm learning about putting out, there's like a puppy fluff. I'm learning about putting a vibration to the universe that I can attract new healthy people, more opportunities to earn money and help others. Health issues now, but soon I see it. Yes, seeing it is believing it, right? And believing it is changing it. The beliefs that we put in our life, I mean, it really does make a difference. And then the worst thing that happens in that situation, I mean, yes, you can be disappointed. That's bad. But also the good worst, that there's like this, my puppy's fluff right here. You see it? I want to catch it. They're shedding. Anyway. Okay. So, what was I saying? Oh, vibrations. Yes. I can't remember what I was saying. Oh, it was directly to you, Belle. I can't remember. You know what I mean, though, right? That yes. Oh, that. Okay, gonna move on. Jonna says, my self-worth started growing when I shifted from people pleasing to self-pleasing. Isn't that true? And the world around you pleasing, and like the life around you, and then it can extend out to other people. So it's not that we have to go from one extreme to the other, although self has to come high up on the list, if not first. It's that once you're able to self-please and create the world that you want around you, even if it's your internal world only. Like maybe we can't change the external, but we can certainly change the internal. Now, this is what I was saying. The worst that can happen in that situation is you feel better emotionally. Okay. And things don't have to be perfect for us to feel okay emotionally. We can feel completely terrible and full of joy at the same time. That's the beauty. When we're abused and we have been trained and programmed to the things that trauma creates in you, the way it makes your brain think and the way it makes your emotions feel, everything becomes kind of black and white, this or that, one or the other. And in reality, you can actually be completely unhappy and joyful at the same time. You can have the experience of grief and moments of joy at the same time. It's more fulfilling. It's a more full life when you look at it that way. What happens is we believe so much in the trauma that it's really, really hard to allow and accept anything good. And number one, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Number two, we don't believe it. Number three, we don't think we deserve it. You know, I could go on and on with my numbers, but yeah. So we're starting with the self-worth is important. Okay, people pleasing. We'll go on to the number 5, self-trust. This is an interesting one because how do you do it? I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but really in a nutshell, what is it? It means that, I wrote something down here. It can sometimes mean that paying attention to what's going on in front of you and believing it as what it is. Sometimes we don't realize, we see a shark and we think it's not a shark. So when you're talking about dealing with people and potentially abusive, toxic people, often what I hear over and over and what I've experienced is that we spend a lot of time justifying behaviors of other people in order to squeeze all these other things we talked about into our life, in order to feel like our self-esteem is being built up, in order to, please someone else, in order to not make waves. We've been taught and programmed to hide from what we're seeing, justify what we're seeing as something else. And what that does is it messes up your ability to trust yourself. Totally messes up your ability, because you know better. It's like, you know what's in front of you. It's a shark, and I'm going to stick my hand in that tank anyway, because it's not really a shark. I can pet it as long as I pet it just right, and I don't, do anything to really disturb it. It'll be okay. It's not really a shark, but really it is. And we have to face what's in front of us and take it at face value. And sometimes that can be really hard. I think it can create a hypervigilance when we're come out of abuse, where we think everyone is toxic, and we think all things that don't go our way are against us, instead of actually being just something that's messed up in the moment. Like we take everything personal, and that it creates a hypervigilance when we don't trust ourselves, because and we can see why we've learned not to trust ourselves. So, I mean, it makes sense, but it's also a place to work to start to gain some self-trust, so that you can see things a little more objectively, and also more truthfully, for it is what it is, and not trying to fit someone into a mold. When you're talking about like meeting a new person, like say you're out and you meet a new friend or someone you're going to date or whatever, and you're kind of watching for red flags, and you're, doing the thing we do. Well, if your hypervigilance is on high, you're not going to see them. Okay. Or if you're still in a state of total lack of self-trust, where you justify behaviors, then you're not going to see it. So it's really like learning. So we'll go more about that. So number 6 goes right with it, which is trusting your intuition. Trusting your intuition. What's your gut telling you? What are you feeling in your body? And most people a lot of people are pretty empathic who have been with narcissists. And what we can learn is that the way we experience other people, the feelings we have, the anxieties that are created, or the calm that's created, is directly related sometimes to that other person. Not that other people control what we think or feel, but we definitely pick up the vibe, or we pick up a feeling, right, from other people. And you learn to trust that in combination with what your brain is telling you, what your logic is seeing. And it builds self-trust and intuition trusting. Let's see. You lost self-trust lately. Okay. What happened? Can you say more about that? That's an interesting thing to look at, because that can go in a lot of directions, right? Bella Bamhurst says, mantra, my thoughts create feelings that create actions that create destiny, that create character. It's a paraphrase of a well-known quote, and I might have missed one element. Hopefully it's clear. I love it. My thoughts create feeling that create actions, that create destiny, and that creates character. Okay, that's good. All right. All right, so what am I on? 7? Raise your standards for how you will be treated. Raise your standards. We have really low standards sometimes about, it kind of comes back to the justifying and the not wanting to see what's right in front of us. But your standards for how you will be treated, what are they? Respectfully, kind. I mean, list them, you guys. What are some standards you have? Or do you even think about it? Sometimes we just let people be who they are. Of course we need to, but at the same time, we don't have a gauge for what we expect for our life. And it kind of comes back to the first one, which is knowing what you want for your life, but raising your standards for how you will be treated, especially if you're entering into a dating relationship or you're considering that, is, I think it goes hand in hand with red flags, but raising the expectation of how you will be treated for your life, because what you're looking at when you're looking at dating in particular is this person safe to hang out with for a few hours? It is that too. But I mean, what we're looking at is long-term. Is this person actually good for another person's life? Are they good for me? Are they good for my life? Right. And how can you know if you don't even know what your standards are? So look at what your standards are and raise the bar a little bit. You don't have to make it like out of control, impossible to meet, but raise the bar. And at the same time, lower your tolerance for what you will tolerate. So a lot of us can take a lot because we're people pleasers, we're fixers, we're interested in other people. We see the good in people. We know that we can tolerate somebody's mood, so to speak. But really, if you'll start to look at that and realize how much you tolerate that is not necessarily yours to fix or yours to deal with, it's somebody else's that they need to get a hold of and take care of before they are healthy for some other person, if they even can. If they're a narcissist, they can't. But so lowering your tolerance goes hand in hand with raising your standards. That's number 6. Okay, you'll cover it somewhere else. Gotcha. Let's see. Okay. Does anyone have anything they want to add? Just add it, and I'll read it as well. Let's see. Okay, huge. It's shameful, the crumbs I gobbled up, isn't it? Okay, but again, shameful is a put down to who you are. And I get it, but I would try on something like it's just another word there that isn't judgmental. Does that make sense? I know what you're saying, though. It is. I deserve better. You do deserve better. We all, yeah. Dignity, respect, boundaries that are safe for me, laughter, joy, and gratitude, a healthy partner, or a solitary life, no abuse. Beautiful. And holding that along with these other things it's like creating a big picture, right? It's creating a new you, or it's creating the real you and allowing the real you to be supported by yourself. You're supporting yourself and your own worth with all of these things. Okay. That's what I'm trying to get at today, is the things we can control and the places that we can make change without worrying or concerning ourselves with what these toxic people are doing and what they will do next. And except for this one, which is number 7, red flags. That's where we still have to look at them and be concerned about what they're doing. If you notice, everything else is about you, because that's how I roll, at least, being in control of yourself, being in control of yourself and your own, power to change, right? If we put the power to change in someone else's hands, it's not going to happen very likely, right? Okay, so red flags. We got to learn about those red flags and pay attention. Again, self-trust and looking at them for what they are. So anyone want to start naming some red flags? I didn't write a bunch down because I didn't. I thought I'll just think of them on the fly. But of course, when I'm sitting here kind of monologuing, I can't think of things. So red flags of a toxic person. Love bombing. Okay, it's not always. So here's the thing about red flags. Let's talk about it for 1 second. One thing happening, 2 things happening, that could just be an excited person. It's when you have multiple things happening or repeated of the same thing, or it's extreme, that's when it becomes a big, huge red flag. People can have red flags without being toxic. People can have red flags because they are anxious or nervous or trying to please you. Or, we have red flags toward other people because of the people pleasing. If someone really looked at that would be a red flag. If someone came up and was totally trying to please me, that would make me run, because I'd be like, whoa, what do they want from me? They could be a perfectly nice person and I would still it would set off an alarm in me. But that doesn't make them a toxic person. But a combination of red flags, that's when you start getting a big picture. What we need to form with the red flags is a big picture of who that other person is, as quickly as we can, and as honest with ourselves and the situation as we can. Jonna says, very critical of others. And hello, Laura. She says, being extremely secretive. Sharing way too much too soon. Yes. Love bombing. Future faking. Last minute videos. Hello. How do I save myself from passive aggression? Can you say more? What's going on? a little more specifically, because I would say you don't buy into it and you don't engage with it. Just like anything, it's a gray rock situation to me, depending on the situation. Okay, so red flags. I mean, there's videos, whole lots of videos on red flags, right? Catching someone in a lie, secrecy that seems not sharing enough information about oneself, but at the same time, almost like they're creating a facade of what they want you to see. Does that make sense? Oh gosh, let's see. Red flags. My ex is crazy. That kind of thing, talking negatively about other people, treating other people a little bit rudely, not rudely enough where it startles you, but just like not real friendly with the wait staff is one phrase people use a lot. But you know what I mean? Like not real engaging with other people where it shows what you're looking for really is lack of empathy. You're looking for the biggest one, which is that person has no empathy. And the only way to see that is to look at a whole lot, a broad spectrum of things. And a lot of it isn't necessarily how they treat you. It can also be how they are treating other people in their life, what they say about their friends, how they talk about, if you listen to someone tell a story and they're talking about how so-and-so related to so-and-so and how this went down, and you listen to how judgmental they are and how they critique and criticize or put down one over the other, or like just listening, you just pay attention and you understand your intuition and what you're getting from it, and you look for the self-trust things we talked about, and it can kind of help. Shasina says, new red flag for me is one who says different things, fishing for a response, like or dislike to what said. Okay. And talking badly about the ex. Yes. All kinds of these things. Another one could be extreme mirroring. That one freaks me out. Extreme mirroring means the person isn't showing you who they are. We all mirror a little bit when we're trying to get to know someone. It's not totally out of the realm of norm to kind of, oh, me too. Oh, I do that too. That kind of stuff. But when it's extreme, you feel it. You feel like this person isn't being genuine. How could all these things be the same? How could they, it feels like mirroring. You can really feel it. You can, what was the other one I had in my head? The look, the eye contact, the stare. That's a big old red flag. Somebody so intensely staring at you that you feel pulled toward them or repulsed, being repelled away from them because they are using their stare as a hook to pull you in. So that's another one. They don't get along with others ever and have had many jobs. That's another one. A red flag is just a bad intuition. Yes. That's another one. See, and learning to trust your intuition. Then when you get hit with that feeling of, oh, there's something really wrong here, you trust it. The worst case scenario, you don't talk to someone who might have been okay. Best case scenario is you dodged a bullet, right? Oh, you're talking about passive aggressive for yourself. Let me finish these and I will come back to that. Okay. Last minute videos. I'm going to, I have two more and then I'll come back to what your question is here. Anything else? Okay. So let's move on from red flags because we can learn lots of red flags from watching other videos as well. But those are a few to look for, and learning to believe that they are what they are. This is the thing with red flags and any of this when we're talking about seeing another person is we have to accept, no matter how cute, no matter how charming, no matter how whatever, when a red flag's a red flag, end of sentence. It goes back to your boundaries and back to your, what do you want for your life, so that it all goes together, right? So that you believe those red flags and you act on them. You step away. Here's one that's important, I think. Number 8, learning to enjoy alone time. Learning to enjoy your own company and learning to spending time doing things that you enjoy by yourself. what happens when you do that? And even if you're a person that lives a pretty solitary life and you think, oh, I'm doing all this stuff by myself, whatever, and this isn't helping, are you enjoying it? Are you learning to see the beauty of who you are and laugh at yourself? I mean, do you walk around and like think things and actually start laughing as if you're with a friend? That's the kind of life. If you can create that, the people that want into that are usually good people because they do it too, right? And narcs will try and steal it. Of course, they want the light that you're emanating when you're like that. But then when you have all the other things in place, this all goes together. And when I thought about this, I tried to piece it together. 10 things that, minimally 10 things that could together work as like a toolkit for your own safety and creating a life that's better for yourself. So spending time alone, it's not just once in a while. You got to do it enough kind of regularly so it becomes part of your experience of yourself. And when you learn to actually experience yourself and see who you are and be completely authentic within yourself without judgment and without a lot of self-criticism or any of that, you just learn to be your own friend. It's like nothing else. I can't explain that, but that's a place where what happens is no one gets to challenge that space. No one gets to tell you that person isn't worth anything because you know from experience that you're worth something, not just a belief or a thought or an affirmation, but you've truly experienced walking along some trail and cracking up at some thought in your head without judgment or whatever it is that makes you see your own value, whatever things, really feeling, I'm a good person. This is good. I'm okay. I really enjoy this. When I'm by myself, I feel at home, that kind of thing. When you can get to that space, even little bits at a time, the only way I know to do it is just start doing it. Start spending time alone and dropping the judgment. If you feel the judgment come in, just say, you know what, not now. Right now, I'm just learning who this person is. When we judge ourselves, we don't see ourselves. What we're doing is putting programming on top of the experience of ourselves and not actually seeing ourselves. Just like when we judge someone else, we're not seeing them. We can judge their actions if they're judgeable actions where they're actually being toxic. That's different. That's not even judging. That's just calling it is what it is, right? And when we are judging ourselves, we're not seeing ourselves in an it is what it is kind of way. We're seeing ourselves in a valuing system that's comparing ourselves to something we think we should be. Anyway, so getting rid of all that and just spending time with yourself in a positive way, doing something you enjoy, getting out of your own head, so to speak, so that you can see who you really are. That creates a person who sees that no one gets to devalue that. And if they do, they're gone. They're not worth it. Not 5 minutes. Does that make sense? All right. Let's see. Anyone have something about that? Let's see here real quick. Okay, so number 9, trust. Well, we did that. Trust your intuition. I skipped one somewhere. That was number 9, learning to enjoy your time. I'm sorry, my numbers are all off because I jumped around and numbered them wrong. That was number 9. Number 10 is take your time. Don't be rushed for any of this. This isn't like, let's make our life better in a day kind of stuff. Take your time with yourself and be patient, but also take your time when you're getting to know someone new, because this whole thing was about, ways to protect yourself from narcissists in the future. Take your time to get to know a person for who they are. Step back from what you want from that person. In other words, especially if it's a dating situation and you have the rush and the excitement and the nervousness and the anxiety and the whatever else comes up, if it's positive, and if it's negative, you have all the other stuff. Hey, don't bark now. That's not okay. And the mailman's going to come and the dog is going to bark. Or someone comes home. Okay. Woof. All right. So take your time to be a witness to what's happening instead of falling into it emotionally too fast. Okay. That is which dog? That was Oswald. He's the first alert system is Oswald. So, Yeah, taking your time for yourself to healing, and then when you meet new people, to really see who they are so that you aren't rushing in and forgetting all this other stuff. That's the fastest way for someone to push your boundaries, is if you let yourself go into what you think you want from the situation before you even know who the person is. Okay, so let's move on here. And I'm going to read some of this. What's happening? You're not getting the notes. What are you asking me here, Jack? Okay. You asked me something and I missed it, Jack. I'm sorry. Oh, you have a bad connection. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Can you give a printed text form of this list? I'm so lost. That's a good idea. Yes, I can. I can do that. I can't do it from my notes. I can type it. That's that. You need a printed text version of my list. Yes, I can do that. And let's talk a little bit about this. Actually, let me answer this question. And then, Jack, you reminded me, what about when you have a narcissist in your life that isn't going anywhere? A parent or a distant relative or a boss? How do you use all of this stuff when they're still in your life? Let's talk about that a bit before I have to go. So, but before that, I want to get to Last Minute Video's question about passive aggressive. What did you say? How do I save myself from passive aggression? And then it's like anger becomes rage and I become emotionally abusive to myself and others. So it's kind of reactive abuse in a sense, is what you're describing there, I think. Anger becomes rage. So are you saying like something happens and you're triggered, and then when you're triggered or direct, like you're directly abused, and then you lash out at other people afterwards, or you're triggered and then that trigger creates anger and rage and then you become emotionally abusive? I think it's unwinding it witnessing what it is you're doing that you don't want to be doing. Number one, we have to take accountability when we are hurting other people and ourselves. We are included in the hurting factor too, when we have to be accountable to the fact that we are doing it, because putting the blame elsewhere isn't useful. We know this. That's not going to stop the behavior. But having reactive behavior without I'm struggling because I'm trying to, the way my mind thinks is I see the picture of what you're talking about. I don't actually see it. I think about what you're talking about, like in relation to a specific instance, and then a big picture's formed of what's going on, and I'm not getting a specific instance in my head, so I'm struggling with how to answer that. Can you say just a tiny bit more, and maybe I'll have a better answer? Chris, hello. Move slowly and pay attention. Exactly. Keep your eyes and ears open. Keep your eyes and ears open. Keep your mind open. That's what I would say. We close our minds to things too soon sometimes, and we don't close them soon enough other times. But we can always make a decision. If your eyes and your ears are open and you're trusting your intuition and your mind is open to experiencing what it is that's in front of you versus knowing ahead of time what you think it is. Does that make sense? Then you can see, is this toxic, or is this just an awkward situation, or what is it? You can see what it is. So anyway, perfect timing on how when they're still in your life. Let's talk about that. What happens when they're still in your life and you're like, how do I not be so vulnerable to them? I mean, all of this stuff still applies that I'm talking about, but it's going to look a little different, right? Because we're not actually able to keep them out. We're having to let them in. So how do you not let them in but still have them around? That's a tricky one. I mean, obviously eliminating as many toxic people as you can, but there are circumstances where you simply can't, or you're not ready, or you are financially unable, whatever the situation is. So how do you keep them out? I think everything that I said on this list applies. Everything applies to that as well. It's just going to look a little different for how you implement it. In other words, So if you are still, I think Belle, you said you're in the middle of getting out, right? Is that right? And or you want to, but you can't financially. So in that case, if you have gray rock is the best tool for allowing them to be who the heck they are without engaging with it. Don't engage with the toxicity. Don't engage with any of the toxicity. By not engaging at the same time, trust what you're seeing. This person is gaslighting me. I trust that. You don't need to engage with it anymore. It's over. The conversation's over. The whole thing ended when they started their baloney and messing with you in a toxic way. Ends it. You don't engage. And by doing that, you can build a little bit of self-worth and self-esteem underneath it all, right? Because you just withstood someone doing something really toxic to you. It's not a pleasant thing, and it's not advised to stay in and to stay around it, obviously. But if you can't get out and you got a boss at work, don't engage. Don't engage. Sometimes you give them what they want in small doses in order to, sadly, it becomes a game of manipulation back, right? Because it's the only way to make peace. You're not going to make peace in a positive way with, the people pleasing and all the other stuff that we think will make peace. No, that's not going to make peace. That just creates more, it breaks you down. And you don't want to be broken down. So let's see. Okay. Structured contact. Exactly. I can't keep out entirely a parent. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So say they are in a mood to be verbally abusive in that moment, and they're just criticizing you, and they're, you're a terrible mother. You're you shouldn't blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is. Why do you do it that way? Every time you do that, whatever they're going to say, where they just get in their critical mood that they know they can get away with because there's no mask there. They just do whatever they want. They're in control of that situation. They can say whatever they want to you, and you're just going to take it because that's how it is, right? At that point, you disengage. You don't say, I'm not, you can maybe once defend yourself, but after that, you don't engage. You say, okay, and you walk away. You just literally use basically silent treatment back. It's an extreme gray rock. You do not say anything. In fact, you leave the room. You give them breadcrumbs. If you can't leave them and they're, you've got to be in their life, you give them just the crumbs of only bits that you have to give, right? Okay. Yes, I'm still in, but I stay separate as possible. Okay. I tell them nothing. Great advice you offer too. Exactly. Nothing. They get nothing. You starve them of supply. If it's a parent, they need you for what they need you for, and they're going to stick around because you have to stick around for whatever reason you're sticking around, right? Not everyone can manage the no contact with the parent. Some people can, some people can't. It's advisable to try, and it's advisable to do for your own self, for your own worth, but not everyone can. Keeping it as you give them nothing. They don't get information about your private life. They don't get information about what you love, what you like, any of that. You keep them starved of all of that, none of it. And it's not a relationship, it's managing. You manage the situation, you don't have a relationship with them. Let's see. Okay, I was at my father's when you started streaming. We spoke of his older brother. His kids who are toxic as close call. He doesn't know about the content of this channel. Oh, that's good. I'm in low contact with my mother. Depressing yet necessary. It is depressing. Okay, but let's look at that. The depressing part. What's depressing about it? Because you don't have a mother, right? But this is where I'm talking about, like, seeing what's in front of you and accepting it for what it is. There's a part of us that we want so bad to fix it through the emotional experience. but it's not the emotional experience per se that, like, we get so attached to the depression and feel in the loss, which is legit. I mean, it's real. But at the same time, yet necessary is important. Necessary. It's necessary to be low contact with someone toxic. And yes, you should have had someone that was more caring in your life. Yes, that's a fact that you should have. So you create that for yourself, Chris. You create an internal care for yourself that kind of fills the need that person can't give you. It's really the only way I know of to, as you're doing that, people that will come into your life, hopefully you will allow only those that do number one, which is support the goal you have for yourself. And that number one goal I'm hoping for everyone is self-love. Okay. So, okay. Lise, can you help us unpack what structured contact is? Not at this moment, but because I can't even get my head around that. Structured contact would be what? Kind of the stuff I'm saying, only have the contact that is, it's kind of need to know, in my opinion. I don't know if that phrase has a whole lot of other meaning. I'd have to research that. Like I said, I must be hitting I passed the 40-minute mark without forgetting what I was talking about. Yes. Okay. But I'm at the 50-minute mark and going to be ending in about 5 minutes. So anyone have anything that they need help with today that they would like to talk about other than what we've been talking about? Now's the time. Feel free. I'm here for 5 more minutes and I'm happy to help where I can. Yeah, Julie does this already. She listens to my mother babble and does not offer personal details about her life. Exactly. That's pretty structured. Contact is very particular, very structured, very selective. Makes sense. Let's see. Yeah, I'd have to look up the full, like, how it's defined. And all these words, we create them, right? We create this language to talk about this stuff and can't keep them all in the head. Oh, yeah, a narcissistic mother would be, or a toxic mother would be, absolutely untrustworthy regarding personal information. Yeah, don't give them that's like asking, in a sense, giving personal information to someone that is that toxic, that it should be one that supports you, but in fact is not. Knowing that they're not is like dangling your most precious parts of your psyche in front of someone who's going to just decimate them in hopes that they'll be different next time. And they're not going to be. That's the part. We have to look at at people who are toxic for who they are and what they are and how they are. And when we're not getting our needs met, it's because they can't meet them. And we move on and try to fix it for ourselves. Lise, really what I needed today. Thank you. You're welcome, Belle. Anything else any questions you have about it or anything you want to add? You have a number 11. Does anyone have anything else they'd add to this list of ways to lower your vulnerability to toxic people, to allowing toxic people in, or to even having them try to get to you, really? It's a painful lesson, Chris. Yes, he says, I have learned the hard way that I have to keep all my personal stuff to myself. You can't see them as you can't see them as the archetype that they should be. You can't see a toxic mother is what we're talking about here. You can't see a toxic mother as a mother figure. You have to see them as what they actually are. Why do you stay in contact? Is it an obligation? Why do you stay in contact? There's a lot of reasons you could be staying in contact. Obligation, they're ill and aging and somebody has to take care of them, and that's an obligation. But like, look at why you are actually even remaining in contact. And that's the nature of the relationship. The relationship isn't going to be different than it is because they can't, right? It's like any narcissist, they can't change. So it's painful, yes, but it's also liberating. And then you can start fixing the parts of yourself that need something, if you need to be heard and have someone validate you, then you find friends that meet that need. You give it to yourself. You journal. You do all kinds of stuff to help yourself feel like you're heard, right? Instead of taking it to the person who's toxic, who will inevitably always just completely destroy it. So, hello, Mo Cowboy. My mom is a horrible gossip. And always negative about other people. Okay. Anything else? Anything else, you guys? Have any questions or anything that you want to add before I head out? Because I have to leave in just a second. Let's see. Okay. All right. So thank you all for joining me today. I appreciate you being here. And as always, I wish you well on your healing journey. And hit subscribe if you enjoyed this, and hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Whatever is, sorry. Okay. For right now, we'll keep processing this info. Okay, got it. Good. You're welcome, Chris. You guys take care, and I wish you the best. And I will see you next week, if not before. Tune in Tuesday. Come back, and I will talk to you. I don't know, something this week. I had some questions about. Well, I'm not even going to say because I don't know what it's going to be. But take care, you guys. Bye-bye.